I was blindsided when I ran into an old friend who casually said, "Your wife was incredible at that last partner swapping event. I didn't know you were into that scene too." The problem was I wasn't. Not in the slightest. But that was the moment everything shifted. It cracked open a truth I hadn't even begun to consider. It all happened at a car wash. I saw Ben, a friend I hadn't seen in almost 6 years. We'd been tight in college, late-night pizza runs, brutal hangovers, endless talks about the future. He looked different now, heavier, with a beard. But the grin was the same when he saw me. "Jake, no way," he said, and we dove into small talk. Jobs, old friends, how boring life gets after 30. Then he dropped that comment. His tone was casual, like he was just reminiscing. But my laugh stopped halfway when I saw he wasn't joking. He nodded as he spoke. "She said it was your idea to stay anonymous. I didn't know you two were part of that world." I didn't reply. I couldn't. In that instant, two things became crystal clear. First, Ben was absolutely serious. Second, the woman I lived with wasn't who I thought she was. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or accuse. When someone breaks your trust that completely, reacting emotionally only gives them a script to follow. I needed her to think I was still clueless. So I played along. While she showered, I sat on our bed and stared at her phone charger like it might offer a clue. What else had I overlooked? Over the next 2 weeks, I investigated. I acted normal while pulling her world apart piece by piece. Her laptop was the first goldmine. She never hid it, just assumed I'd never care to look. Until now, she'd been right. In the downloads folder, I found documents, party guidelines, guest lists, even consent forms. One name was always paired with hers, wife of Jake, but I was always listed as not attending. I hadn't even known these events existed. She'd been using me as cover. Then I looked at her messaging app. Encrypted, of course. But she'd made a mistake. Her laptop still showed desktop notifications. As I scrolled through her search history, a message popped up. "Can't wait to see you again. You're a goddess." That led me down a rabbit hole. Dozens of chats. Men. Women. Compliments. Arrangements. Explicit photos. From the threads, it had been happening for at least a year. Probably longer. In every message, she used my name as part of her narrative. "Jake knows but likes to stay in the background." What she meant was, Jake has no idea, and I intend to keep it that way. I wasn't even a person in her story. I was a character, a useful lie. A silent husband who made her seem safe and stable. Like someone flashing a fake badge to get past security. That was when I decided there wouldn't be an argument. No dramatic scene. This wouldn't be a confrontation. It would be an unmasking. I wasn't going to yell. I was going to let the truth do the damage. So I watched. I studied her. Every move. Every smile. She became my project. I stayed quiet and gathered information. She once used an old backup app still connected to our shared Google account. She never thought to remove it. Within an hour, I had access to everything, messages, hidden photos, scheduled events. What I found showed a double life. Hotels I'd never been to. People I'd never heard of. Clothes she never wore at home. In those photos, she looked vibrant, alive in ways I hadn't seen in years. At home, I was her partner. Out there, I was just a name, a placeholder. Her writing retreats and girls' weekends lined up perfectly with the dates of these events. 8 parties. Not 1, 8. And in every document, I was conveniently mentioned. Supportive. Absent. Fictional. Emails suggested I approved of everything. I didn't. But I'd act like I did for now. Because calm, I realized, is a weapon. I told her I wanted to reconnect. Said I'd been emotionally distant and wanted to fix that. She hugged me.
She cried.
She said she was grateful. She had no clue I was monitoring her second phone, the one she thought no one knew about. One contact called her their midnight addiction. She whispered, "Thank you for being my anchor." I smiled. Anchors don't just hold things steady. They pull things down. I compiled everything. Screenshots. Photos. Location data.
Logs.
3 tailored packets. One for her family and friends. One for HR at her job. One for the lifestyle community that had accepted her based on lies. Each file told a different story. To her family, betrayal and manipulation. To her job, ethical violations and dishonesty. To her community, deceit and broken trust. The first email was anonymous. Subject: you should know who she really is. Inside, a PDF full of texts, profiles, maps, and pictures. Sent to her parents, sister, and 3 close friends. Then I waited. By the next morning, the silence around her began to shift. She sat across from me at breakfast, sipping coffee and scrolling her phone, oblivious. But I'd heard her sister's voicemail, picked up through the recorder I installed. You lied to all of us, Claire. And using Jake like that? I'm disgusted. Her mother didn't say a word, just removed her from the family group chat. By lunchtime, one of her friends posted a vague quote about betrayal. At 3 p.m., she looked up from her screen, confused. Everyone's being weird today, she said. I shrugged. Maybe they found out who you really are. She laughed, thinking I was joking. The laughter wouldn't last. Her job was next. She worked in community outreach for a well-known nonprofit, an industry built on trust and integrity. I sent HR a redacted version of the evidence. No explicit photos, but plenty of proof. Time theft, dishonesty, reputational risk. 2 days later, I got a reply. They were reviewing ethics concerns and suspending her from public-facing roles. That's corporate speak for, you're now a liability. She came home pale that day. Something weird's happening at work, she said. I folded a towel. Sounds like consequences. The final blow came from her secret social circle. Their world had rules: consent, honesty, communication. I sent the moderators her messages, especially the part where she said, Jake doesn't need to know everything. They responded swiftly. Not a warning. A ban. A permanent one. Her double life had collapsed. Piece by piece. And I didn't have to scream. I just had to stay quiet long enough to let the truth echo. Her access was revoked. Her reputation wiped clean. She sent an email. No reply. That night, she sat in silence on the couch, phone in hand, frozen. I don't get it. Why is everyone cutting me off? I leaned against the wall, quiet, because I told the truth. The full truth. Not the polished version you prefer to hide behind. Her eyes filled with tears. Jake, what did you do? Only what you deserved. She tried to defend herself. I didn't let her. You used me. Lied, said I was in on everything. Lived some curated fantasy while pretending I was part of it. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me. You erased me. She had no response. Nothing she could say would change it. Everything she had worked so hard to craft fell apart. And I never even raised my voice. A week later, Claire quietly moved into her sister's spare room. No final confrontation, no dramatic farewells. She just packed up in silence and left. I stood in the hall and watched as she loaded her car. One suitcase, one bin, one small box labeled essentials. The smallest departure I'd ever seen. She wiped her online presence clean. Deleted Instagram, but not before I read the comments. Disappointed in you. You used your husband like scenery. You can't preach honesty while hiding the truth. Then gone. Her profile disappeared. That persona she built, sex positive, emotionally wise, radically transparent, wasn't just questioned. It was dismantled. And in her world, perception was everything. Her job didn't fire her, but they buried her. Moved her from community roles to silent admin work. No more panels, no more visibility. Just boxed away. A quiet professional exile. Someone told me her new boss said, keep her away from the public. She's not clean enough to represent us. That hurt more than anything I ever said. As for the other men, those backup plans she relied on, they left, too. The ones who called her queen, wildflower, divine, disappeared. Some blocked her. Others faded. One messaged directly. You lied about your husband. That's not safe. That's unethical. She wasn't just ghosted. She was branded. In a world built on radical honesty, she became the warning. And me? I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't need to plead my case. I didn't post anything or lash out. I let reality speak. I kept the house, my job, and most importantly, my peace. I started therapy, not because I was shattered, but because I refused to carry her damage into my future. I slept alone, but I slept well. No more lies next to me at night. People think revenge is rage, loud and violent. But real revenge is quiet. It's the silence after everything burns. It's what happens when someone's left alone with nothing but their own reflection, mask off, truth exposed. That's where she is now. Alone. No fans. No affirmations. Just the mirror and the wreckage she caused. What I took back wasn't flashy, it was dignity. She used my name to make her choices seem mutual. Told people I supported things I didn't even know about. I was used, not included. I never agreed. I wasn't informed. When I finally saw that clearly, I stopped grieving. I reclaimed my voice, my truth, my self-worth. Love doesn't mean covering for someone who's erasing you. Love means knowing when to stop handing them the pen to write your story. If you're reading this and feel something tug at your gut, listen. If asking for honesty, respect, or clarity makes you feel needy, it's not you. You're likely being misled. You don't owe anyone your silence. Build your exit. Calmly, quietly, strategically. Because when someone uses your loyalty to mask their lies, the most powerful thing you can do is reveal the truth and walk away while their world collapses behind you. I never yelled. Never demanded people take sides. I just let the truth stand. Now, she walks through the ruins of her own making. Alone. Unmasked. And me, I walk forward in peace. Not because I won, but because I didn't let her drag me under.